Hello, everybody. This is Ben Gerber and Tom Holder from Gerber and Holder, and we're here today to talk about a topic in the news, and that is the fallout and the reaction to Meghan Markle's interview. Now, many of you saw her interview, and probably many more of you saw the reaction of Piers Morgan in the aftermath of the interview. He was discussing the topic of Meghan Markle's interview with a bunch of colleagues when he abruptly got up and left the set and quit. So we're going to throw a workers' compensation spin on this. And the question that we're going to pose, and I'll pose to Tom right now, is hypothetically, if Piers Morgan quit on the air and walked off and tripped over a cord, would he be entitled to workers' compensation benefits in the state of Georgia? Tom, what's the answer?
Well, thank you, Ben. For those who don't know, Piers Morgan hosts a show which I believe is called Good Morning Britain, which is kind of their equivalent of the Today Show. If he said, "I quit," and tripped and fell and hurt himself going off stage, he would definitely be eligible for workers' compensation benefits if that happened in the state of Georgia. If you quit your job or if you leave your job at any time, you are given a reasonable time to exit the premises before you lose the protection of workers' compensation. So I think that if he's injured leaving the stage, he would definitely be eligible for workers' compensation. It would be really just the same as if somebody did a concert or was involved in a play and fell after the show was over and fell and hurt themselves. So I believe he would be eligible for benefits.
Now, there's this wonderful scene in The Office that many of you have probably seen where Michael Scott walks into the office and he just yells, "I declare bankruptcy." And he has to be told later that just by yelling, "I declare bankruptcy," does not mean he has actually declared bankruptcy legally. So in this instance, an individual, even if they say they're going to quit, they actually most likely have to fill out paperwork indicating they are quitting and they are on the job until they leave the premises. Now, let me ask you a different question, Tom. What if an individual says, "I'm going to quit in 2 weeks"? They provide 2 weeks notice and they get hurt within those 2 weeks. What happens with regards to workers' compensation?
Well, while that person is working during that 2-week period, he's still working and earning money just as if he hadn't given his notice. So he would still be eligible for workers' compensation benefits. In fact, we just have a very unfortunate recent case that we've gotten in the office in which a man gave 2 weeks notice and then fell off of a small building that he was helping to clean while working inside a warehouse and landed on his head and ultimately died. And that will be a workers' compensation case, and his dependents will be eligible to receive workers' compensation benefits.
So a question, similar to that is, if an individual gives 2 weeks notice, will they be able to receive workers' compensation benefits beyond the 2 weeks when they would have resigned from their position?
Well, it depends on it. So a case like that, obviously, there won't be a specific traumatic event that will cause somebody to get hurt because they've left the job. But for example, let's just say somebody had done a lot of typing over the years and ended up being diagnosed with carpal tunnel. There's a good chance, and we've certainly seen this happen when like plants close, where there'll be a certain percentage of people who are trying to work through their injuries, like a lot of people do. But once a plant closes, they might go for medical care to see about something like a carpal tunnel situation. If a doctor diagnoses that person with carpal tunnel and relates it back to the work that person was doing while on the job, that person could still be eligible for workers' compensation benefits.
And even if they had a traumatic injury, they will receive benefits beyond the 2 weeks that they gave notice if they're going to be out of work for a significant amount of time, correct?
Absolutely. I will say that this whole area of people being injured and then going out of work or being injured, what happens if you retire, is a very complicated area and one in which people definitely should be speaking to a lawyer. It's very fact specific. And in our experience, companies are not really that inclined to provide benefits for people in that situation. But since they're not going to return back to the job in which they were injured, there's no reason to not get an attorney in those cases.
It's always very important to at least talk to an attorney when it comes to the area of workers' compensation, because it is such a very fact specific and very administrative law specific area. If you have
Yes,
any,
as well.
sorry,
I'm sorry, it's always interesting when people say they knew somebody who had the exact same case that they have, when, especially in this area, the cases are so different from each other. We can never understand how somebody would really say that.
If you have any questions about workers' compensation, quitting, or anything else, please don't hesitate to contact us here at Gerber and Holder. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank you, Ben.